evening from Swansea, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are listening to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for pro wrestling insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. Today is Saturday, July 29th, 2023, and that means that last night was WWE SmackDown, and tonight will be AEW Collision. I'm saying it every single weekend now, but wrestling at the minute is just stacked. There's so much to keep up with, and we're going to make sure you guys keep updated by watching this show today. We're firstly going to talk about SmackDown before moving on to AEW Collision later on tonight. But without further ado, let me introduce the panel for today's show. Firstly, the head of reviews, Coby Galenzoski.
What's going on? We're here for SmackDown, of course. Second, not the go home show, but next week is the go home show. We have NXT tomorrow. We have pretty much a stacked Collision tonight. There's a lot of wrestling. We always talk about it. There's too much wrestling as it is. There's so much wrestling to cover, not enough time. At the end of the day, there's a lot to talk about, and we're gonna get into it soon.
Absolutely, we are. Also joining us, the controversial, as always, Ignacio Pinalez. How are you, Ignacio?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Looking forward to the show and talking about last night's SmackDown, which wasn't too bad. It was okay.
Yeah, no, it absolutely was. And also, we have Ignacio's number one enemy at this point, it seems, on the channel. And that is the Dynamite reviewer for Wrestling Republic, David Sheldon.
Unfortunately.
Hello, everybody. Happy Saturday. I'm excited to talk about this show. I'm just going to ignore what was just said, and we're going to carry on as normal. I'm very excited to talk about SmackDown and Collision very briefly. I thought SmackDown was a fine show with some pretty good stuff, some not so good stuff, some unfortunate stuff, which we'll get into. And I'm very, very excited for Collision tonight. And obviously the NXT takeover this weekend as well, or NXT special or whatever they're called now. Very, very excited. I'm excited to get into it. Let's get at it.
Absolutely. And if you haven't seen our predictions for NXT's Great American Bash Premium Live event, they are on yesterday's video. So make sure to check those out. But let's talk last night. Let's talk SmackDown. And let's talk the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns. Because, of course, he'll be defending the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship against Jey Uso at SummerSlam. And last night on SmackDown, Jey Uso opened the show before being very quickly interrupted by his tribal chief, Roman Reigns. The two then went back and forth, roasted each other a few times. It was fun. Before Jey Uso very simply ended the segment with, "I've already beat you, and I'll beat you again." It was a great way to end the segment. I enjoyed it. Good opening to the show. Grayson Waller then backstage confronted main event Jey Uso and offered him the Grayson Waller rub, leading to a match in the main event. And this is the ongoing joke at the minute on SmackDown, where, Grayson Waller's claiming that everybody needs the Grayson Waller rub. He claimed The Rock needed it earlier this week. It's his gimmick at this point after the John Cena segment at Money in the Bank. But yeah, the match was made official. Jey Uso took on Grayson Waller in the main event. And yeah, Roman Reigns interrupted halfway through, and that kind of threw Jey off for a few minutes. But in the end, it wasn't enough. Jey Uso got that eventual victory before Roman Reigns tried to take out Jey, but he failed. And Jey once again got the upper hand by spearing him. However, Solo was the deciding factor. And in the end, Solo and Roman Reigns hit the Samoan spear and spike on Jey Uso. I enjoyed the opening segment. I enjoyed the main event. But more importantly, David, what did you think about these segments and the main event of SmackDown?
I share your enthusiasm. I enjoyed this quite a bit. I think Jey Uso is such a fantastic. I've been really impressed by him through the whole story, but really these last few weeks as a solo guy, he's got so much charisma. It oozes out of every pore of his being. It's amazing. And Roman, as you know, is always great. Grayson's great as well. I'd like to see Grayson start to get some wins. Because he is getting beaten like a drum right now. As understandably, he's jobber to the stars right now. But I hope that they do give him something significant to do, and it's not just him being beat up by people every week. He did look good in this match, though. Specifically, I want to talk about how much I really loved the post-match beatdown. Now, I'm normally not a big fan of post-match beatdowns. Not that they have, we just seen them so many times now. But what I really loved about this was the energy that all of these guys brought in their facial expressions, in their body language. Roman is so good at that hyped-up anger aggression. And he really, really brought that. Also, props to Roman, because as Jey goes to hit him with the spear, Roman slips and pulls himself up very quickly to take that spear. That's the spot that can go horribly wrong if Roman does not get up faster. So props to him. That's the American football in him coming back to bring him back to life there. But really, really impressive. I thought that the spear and spike is such a cool move as well. Really, really good. Really, really good end to the show. Really like sort of angry, very violent, very sort of vicious, without needing to go into all the chairs and tables. It just in the body language, it really worked. My only complaint, and it's nothing to do with any of these guys on the show, but Michael Cole said on commentary that Solo Sikoa can get involved in tribal combat. Oh, I think we're just. It's one of those things where as soon as you hear that he can get involved, you immediately go, oh no. Because you just think the Cody match, you just think all of the interference, you just think, and it's just like, I would have loved this to be the one where he couldn't. I feel like tribal combat is such a good way to have a match where they don't have to interfere. And then if Roman wins, he just wins clean, and that's grand, or he loses clean. But that's me. That's maybe me fantasy booking what I want rather than what will be. But you know, it makes me a little bit less excited because I feel like we're going to get lots of interference spots in there. But can't complain about the segments on this show. Good opening segment, very entertaining backstage bit with Waller and Jey. Good main event, not a great main event, but a good main event, and an excellent post-match beatdown. Big fan of this.
I will agree with that, but not only can Solo Sikoa get involved, so can Jimmy Uso. And I think that's going to be the twist. Solo's going to try and get involved, and then Jimmy's going to just take him out, return and take him out. And then it will just be Jey and Roman to settle the score. But now let me pass it to the guy who often doesn't agree with you, David. Ignacio, what did you think about the Bloodline on SmackDown?
Never agree with him. Yeah, I liked it. It was pretty good. But look, I'll say this about the whole the Bloodline the scenario is that it's been entertaining. It's a good storyline. It's been a good storyline. It's been the WWE's. It's been their bread and butter for the past 3 years. But the thing is that after everything's done with Jey Uso, where do they go from there? And that's what I'm kind of a little bit more concerned about is who are they setting up for Roman or Jey if he wins. And I wouldn't be opposed to Jey winning, but it's so where do they go from there? Because if Roman does win, let's take on the scenario that Roman does win. Where do they go with Roman? Who's next for him? And I would venture to say that probably the next time we would probably see Roman is probably wrestling at Survivor Series, which is 2 to 3 months away, and that's actually defending the WWE title. And I don't have a problem with that either, because I'm more in tune in the old days when the WWF title used to be defended. You had to watch it on pay-per-view, or you had to go to a house show to actually see it being defended. So, but what's the story after that? Because the Bloodline storyline, it's running thin, or this might be the end of it. You know what I mean? As far as the inner workings of the Bloodline, the inner fighting of the Bloodline is going to be over, and it's going to run dry, and people are going to get tired of it. So what's the next step? I mean, I like the segments. I like the promos, the interviews. And everything that they're doing, the backstage segments, the interactions with Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman doesn't even Paul Heyman doesn't even need to talk, and just looking at his facial expressions while the other individuals are talking, sells the match for SummerSlam, sells the storyline with the Bloodline. So my concern is, it isn't what's leading up to SummerSlam or what's going to be at SummerSlam. It's what's going to happen after SummerSlam. How are they going to keep the audience engaged? And I will say, one thing I don't like about the whole scenario, the only complaint I have is, I wish, as far as the tribal combat match, I wish they would have differentiated it from another gimmick match. Now it's basically a no holds barred match, right? To my understanding, but there's no other extracurricular activity rules involved. You know, are they fighting in a cage of some sorts, or around the palm trees and tiki torches, or I don't know. I'm just I wish they would have just made it different, and they haven't done anything to differentiate it. That's my only complaint.
Yeah, fair enough.
I gotta run in here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, my favorite thing about that was you just carried on the take every time your cat ran in. That was brilliant. But Numo1 Superflies in the comments, and he brings up a fantastic point. That did you notice? Roman no longer has 3 belts. He now just has the 1. And yes, I did notice that Heyman didn't bring the 2 titles to SmackDown. Now, I don't know if that's just something as simple as it couldn't fit in his luggage. Maybe, he was carrying too much, or maybe it was just that they've decided to stop doing that now. And I'd honestly be quite happy if that is the case, and they are just showing, the undisputed title, because after all, it is the undisputed championship. It kind of, even though, it made Roman look awesome, it kind of defeated the point, dare I say. They were 2 retired championships. Why is he carrying those? Made no sense to me. But Coby, what did you think of the Bloodline on SmackDown? And are you happy that Roman Reigns is now only carrying 1 belt instead of the 3?
Honestly, no, because I really like the visual of the fact that the historical run is with the belts that Heyman was holding. And the fact that, yes, you gave him a new belt, yes, do whatever you want, but I actually did really like keeping it involved and keeping it visual, because those are the belts the Bloodline made important, type of thing. At the end of the day, I agree with both things that were said, but I think because I'm still looking for an understanding about what tribal combat means. That was the biggest thing coming into this week that I was looking for. I was looking for, okay, you announced this tribal combat. You have to sell me on the fact that this isn't just a X match, no holds barred, an Extreme Rules match, just titled the tribal combat. You have to sell me on the importance of it, and they didn't. Yes, it was still a good segment. Yes, the build wasn't horrendous. Like we've seen a lot of matches being built in general. It was good. The promo was really good. Jey Uso's getting momentum. Jey Uso got a nice win over Waller. There's not a lot that you can complain about. But the other thing that I can say about it is I hate the fact that Tribal Combat was announced, revealed last week, and we have Roman Reigns blocking Solo Sikoa. That's supposed to mean something, and it lost it. We have the Tribal Combat, to me, would have been, okay, we are building up to Tribal Combat, which means they're not going to touch until SummerSlam. There's a ceasefire between Bloodline members. At least that's the way I was interpreting it, and that's not the way it was executed. I think that's a truly missed opportunity. Obviously, I like the spear. Obviously, I like the moment. But I wonder what happens next week, and we want to kind of analyze the way. I do think it's a match that could go either way when at the end of the day at SummerSlam.
Yeah, no, I'll agree with you there, Coby, and that was a great, take about, how last week Roman, as soon as tribal, combat was brought into it, Roman Reigns blocked Solo. I was like, no, we can't do that. The only thing that I'm potentially thinking it could be is that the fact that Jey then took out Solo, that kind of broke it, but they haven't explained that well, if that is what it is. And we've got Soul in the comments saying, when is this Bloodline story ending? Really should end before 2024. I doubt it will. We saw it at WrestleMania. After WrestleMania, Roman Reigns called it. He said that, we're only in the 3rd inning So it's probably gonna last, truthfully, maybe to 2025. I honestly could. I definitely don't see it ending before WrestleMania. And yeah, I mean, say what you want. I don't think they would have brought in this World Heavyweight Championship on Raw if they had any intention of taking the undisputed title off Roman Reigns anytime this year, maybe next year. But that is a question for another day. Now let's talk about a match which unfortunately didn't go the way which a lot of people hoped. And that was Santos Escobar and Rey Mysterio. And usually when I say something like that, it's a bad result. It's bad booking. Unfortunately, no, this was an injury. And yeah, the match itself, Austin Theory was in the stands for it, and Michael Cole had the line of the night saying, Austin Theory with all his friends. And it's just Austin Theory in an empty stand. That was brilliant. But Escobar and Mysterio put on a really good match before Rey Mysterio unfortunately suffered whiplash and the match was ended. Was it storyline? Was it legit? We don't really know for certain, but I'm going to be honest with how it was done. I do think it was legit. I'm now actually going to, though, bring out my inner Clark, and I'm going to predict an injury. And perhaps I'm completely wrong, but I did notice in the second half of that match, Rey Mysterio was really struggling on that right leg. It was, and that's why it seemed a bit sloppy in the last few minutes before the whiplash thing happened. And Rey kept going on the ground, and Santos kept looking at him before then they made an impromptu spot. It seemed like to me. I thought when I was watching it, that was the injury. Now, obviously, Mysterio suffered the whiplash after or whatever. Maybe that was a thing, or maybe that was an excuse and the referees told him not to continue because of the knee. Or maybe both things happened and that's why Rey Mysterio wasn't properly prepared to take the suicide dive. Who knows? But something about the second half of this match just seemed a little off to me, and that was before the whiplash spot. But Coby, what did you think about it? And do you think there's possibly anything to a leg injury?
I don't know because that's the thing is, I mean, I'm not going to get into it. I've had bad knees before, and I do have bad knees, and I've had minor things where I go lock and bone on bone, and it hurts to walk for a couple hours. It could be something very minor where it's like, yeah, he can continue, but it's like, okay, it's still going to hurt a bit. It could be that, but that's the thing is like I totally agree that this was a really good match. It was properly building, starting off slow, getting hot. Essentially, one of the first big spots, which was the sequence of them taking it out and then the Hurricane Rana into the apron. That looked really good. That's the thing. If they're saying it's whiplash, I don't know when it happened because to me, not the botched, but the missed splash looked worse than Santos's dive. I don't know which one it is. I'm not going to say, dissect it and say, this is it. It should, but that's the thing. Like you said, it truly sucks to see that this match went this way. I like that Santos gets the win and they didn't just call it a no contest. Of course, that makes sense. At the end of the day, they recovered well because the fact that this match is built on respect. They're in the LWO together. Santos Escobar and Rey are there and they're working together. At the end of the day, Rey and Santos have that moment of respect. And that is, despite the match ending wrong, that is still a cherry on top moment because the respect is still there. It's visible. And if you're the Rey Mysterio fan, that helps you be more endearing towards Santos Escobar. I'll say it before and I'll say it again. Santos Escobar is one hell of a talent. He belongs in the WWE. He belongs in a really top spot. And I'm glad he's getting a better push than what he originally got on the main roster. Because the Legado del Fantasma stuff was going nowhere. And now he has a purpose, and thank you, because Santos is a hell of a talent.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Drizzy's in the comments. Shout out Drizzy. And he's saying, am I the only one mad that the title match isn't happening on SummerSlam? I get it. I'm not mad about it. It's a mid-card title. We know in the Triple H regime, they want to do less matches on a show, and I'm not mad about that at all. It worked for the NXT takeovers perfectly. I think it's actually working great. All the pay-per-views, almost all the pay-per-views under Triple H have worked so far with, the limited matches. So I don't have an issue with it. If it was something such as a tag team title, like we spoke about on the show the other day, I'd have more of an issue because tag team matches can, really break up a card and it can feel, a nice difference. So yes, US title, I'm not too bothered about. But Drizzy's also got another comment here saying, do you think it happened in another spot? Yeah, if it was a knee injury, it must have happened halfway through to the match because that's when it started looking a bit weird. But who knows? Who knows? We're going to have to wait to find out. But now let's talk about another faction. Let's talk about Hit Row as LA Knight. Yeah, interrupted Hit Row and called Top Dollar Uncle Phil. That was brilliant. That was the funny line of the night. I already mentioned Michael Cole's. Well, that was great too. LA Knight is so over. He was insane and he got a quick win over Shante the Adonis. But David, do you think they just need to... What do you think they should do with LA Knight at this point? Because he's so over, but they're not doing anything with him, really.
I mean, so first of all, this might prick Ignacio's ears up slightly. This match felt very kind of late 80s, early 90s, sort of, typical weekly television kind of big win for a big star match. Put him against a named jobber, because Hit Row are dead in the water, aren't they? They came back, have done nothing, continue to do nothing. I don't hate them by any means. They're fine, but they're there to take pins now. LA Knight comes down to the ring, cuts a very funny promo, taking shots at each of them. Couple of hits in from the heels. Face takes up. Well, he's not the face, but he is now. Let's be honest. Hits his big moves, wins, lovely. Crowd are happy, marvelous stuff. Which worked fine. It worked okay for what it was meant to do. I think looking forward now for LA Knight, I mean, the next thing is obviously the Slim Jim Battle Royal at SummerSlam, which they announced on the show. Whenever anyone just says Slim Jim now, I just think of Randy Savage. All right, me Randy. But this basically screams the let's give LA Knight a win Battle Royal. If they don't give him the win in this, they're mad. I mean, I mentioned on last week's show about the fans that cried Knight, where it's going to become the boy that cried wolf, which is when they finally do pull the trigger on LA Knight. The fans will be burned so many times from stop-start that they just won't care as much anymore. Thankfully, the loss last week didn't derail him, and he still seems mega over, and the crowd still adore him. His shirts are selling like hotcakes. He's probably one of the biggest stars on television right now. On SmackDown TV. So have him win this. I think the match next week against Sheamus will be fun. I think he'll lose it. I think he'll lose to Sheamus next week to throw people off before he wins the Battle Royal. I thought this was fine and functional enough for what it needed to be. And I think you have to start doing something with LA, because I think the current problem you have with the Triple H regime, as much as I think Triple H regime has been a massive improvement, they're booking further and further in advance now. The problem with Vince's booking always seemed to be that they wouldn't book with plans in mind. They just throw anything out on television. Whereas now they're booking so far in advance, it feels like they haven't caught up to LA Knight yet. It feels like they kind of can't, because they fit so many plans in, that the LA Knight suddenly got himself mega over and they just don't know how to fit him in. This feels like a last-minute decision, this Battle Royal, to get a bunch of people on the card and to give LA Knight a big win so that everyone can be happy is it Detroit? SummerSlam? Yes. Everyone can be happy in Detroit and marvelous, and we all go home happy with a smile on our face.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, that's actually pretty similar to what Ignacio suggested last week. So maybe you and Ignacio do have more in common than, you first thought. Who knows?
No, don't say that. I'm still waiting on his suspension.
Oh, gosh. But now let's go to the comment section. And Bailey is saying he's surely winning the Slim Jim Battle Royale. Number one Superfly is saying, man, Hit Row keeps losing every time, not to mention Top Dollar getting buried for not going over the top rope.
They're still on about it.
I feel bad for him. Uncle Phil, Top Dollar, Drizzy says. And yeah, Slim Jim Battle Royale, somewhere Macho Man is giving a really sad Oh yeah.
I've got an idea. I've got an
Oh?
idea. This should not happen. I should put this out now. This is just a joke. But what they should have is LA Knight get absolutely battered around, and then have an AI version of Macho Man come out and go, "Stop me to a Slim Jim," and then he wins everyone. I've seen worse stuff in the Flash, so it would not surprise me. We resurrected Christopher Reeve. Let's bring back Macho Man. No, do not do this. I am joking. Please, Vince. Please don't do what I say. Please don't do what I say.
No.
They're gonna do what I say, don't they?
I hope you haven't cursed it. Hope you haven't cursed it, David. I really hope you haven't. But now let's talk about something. We went from something you don't want to happen to something that I didn't like that happened, and that was Bianca Belair and Charlotte Flair taking on Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green. And Bianca Belair was cutting a promo backstage before the Karens of WWE interrupted and complained about how they haven't had a title celebration. Bianca Belair and then Charlotte Flair then walked in, leading to Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair versus Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville for later in the night. And Charlotte and Bianca Belair won the match and defeated the women's tag team champions. And I mean, this would make sense if, maybe you're building them as a tag team. I still wouldn't like it, but it'd make sense. But no. This entire thing is, a feud between them still. They weren't on the same page in victory. This was bad. I praised WWE for weeks now, building up Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green. They made them actually feel like a strong tag team over the last couple of months. They've done great booking them. And now look, that's all gone in one night for absolutely no reason. You had your women's tag team champions take a clean loss against a tag team not on the same page. I wasn't happy about this. It really got under my skin. But Ignacio, what did you think about it?
Yeah, well, first with the backstage segment, I really, really like Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville as a tag team. I think they've come on their own and embraced their characters, and it shows on screen. They're both good promos. They're both good in the ring. They're both good as a tag team. They when they do their sequence maneuvers in the ring, they perform them well. They both can sell. They both can work. They're tremendous. I love both of them, and I love them together as a tag team. Now, as far as like the backstage segment, Charlotte's a star. Of course, she gets it. But Bianca has just, to me, the way she comes off on screen, she's trying to be an actress, a thespian or whatever, and she's not good at it. She comes off very unauthentic, I guess you can say, and she's just not very good, in my opinion, as far as her promos, her backstage segments, or what have you. She still hasn't gotten that part down yet, and I don't think she ever will. It's been a long time already. For the match itself, they could have had Chelsea and Sonya go over Charlotte and Bianca, and I thought that would have enhanced the friction between Bianca and Charlotte. Instead, they go over. They kind of, I don't want to say they buried Sonya and Chelsea, because they got some offense in, and they got their tag team, their maneuvers in, and so forth, and they looked good. But it wouldn't have hurt them to have them go over Charlotte and Bianca, because it's like they've done this in the past and they're doing it tonight. They're doing it with in AEW with FTR against MJF, and we're a tag team. The tag team champions fight two main eventers, like FTR against MJF and Adam Cole, and they've done in the past in WWE several times, where the tag team champions, whether it be like the New Age Outlaws against Austin and Undertaker or whoever, and then Austin and Undertaker win or what have you, and it doesn't do them any harm if the tag team champions beat two singles main eventers, because number one, they're singles main eventers. They're not in a tag team, so they don't have that camaraderie or that chemistry that a tag team has. They're not used to tag team wrestling, and they could have sold that in this match also. Not only that, there's already friction between Bianca and Charlotte as opponents for SummerSlam, so they could have thrown that in there. So they could have built the equity and the stock of Chelsea and Sonya by giving them a win against two top main event stars, and they could have had some shenanigans to give them the loss, and it wouldn't have hurt anybody. But yeah, it was a good match. I liked the match a lot. They didn't bury the referee. It was a good tag team match, good sequences. Good facials by Charlotte on the mat. Like Charlotte's like Randy Orton in my opinion. She doesn't have to do much to get the attention of the audience or get the audience invested in the match. All she really has to do is look on the apron and just look at Charlotte while something's going on in the ring, and Charlotte can sell you the match just being on the apron. That's how good Randy Orton is too. That comes with time though, but good tag team match. I like the characters in Sonya and Chelsea. I don't like Bianca Belair as somebody who can carry the torch for the women's division, and now she did it for a year, and I didn't think she was all that good. I still think she needs a lot of work she needs to do to come into her own. I know she's popular amongst all the little girls and children and stuff like that, but I think a good heel turn would be in store for her in the future, and I think she could excel at that. Charlotte Flair is the superstar she is, and leading up to SummerSlam, I don't like three ways. With the match with Asuka, Charlotte, and Bianca, I'm not a big fan of three ways, but this match definitely does have some potential. But as far as the segment as a whole, I was okay with it. I just didn't think that Sonya and Chelsea should have lost.
Yeah. No, I mean, fair enough. That's it's understandable. And like I said, I agree with you on some of that. I don't agree with you on other parts, but I do agree.
Of course.
That the tag team champion should not have lost against a team which isn't even the tag teams. And I think that's something which we can unanimously agree on here. We've got number one Superfly in the comments on YouTube saying, can WWE stop doing? Can they coexist? It almost never works. Drizzy is saying, it told the story of you can do all the work, but someone can steal the win from you. I mean, I don't know about that. Drizzy's also saying that he doesn't agree that Bianca needs more work, and I will agree with you there, Drizzy. I'm a big Bianca Belair fan personally. But yeah, I mean, this was undoubtedly a very controversial segment, but now let's move on to a very controversial show. Let's move on to AEW Collision. And I'm going to very quickly read out the card for tonight before we move on to one match specifically. And I'll run through the card real quick. There's firstly Mercedes Martinez against Kiera Hogan. These are two great women. I'm excited to, see them face each other. But where's the story? There is none. Then we got Samoa Joe versus Gravity. Again, two great competitors. Where's the story? There is none. And then we'll hear from CM Punk. At least there will be a story, I hope. Then we've got El Hijo del Vikingo teaming up with Action Andretti and Darius Martin to take on Juice Robinson and the Guns. And I think this is just another match to give Bullet Club Gold a win. I'm not going to complain about that. Why El Hijo is involved, I'm not entirely sure. But I'm not going to complain too much about this. It's building on what happened last week. Let's see it happen again. And they're just building up Bullet Club Gold. I have no issue with that personally. And this is where it gets interesting, these two matches, right? We firstly got the Andrade's Mask ladder match, where Andrade El Idolo, of course, will be taking on Buddy Matthews. And boy, oh boy, am I excited for that. It's going to be a banger of a bout, as I like to say. One thing which was brought up to me by Anthony Ricciardi here at Wrestling Republic this week, he was saying that he's not entirely sure why Andrade's Mask means so much to him. And there is a lot of story there. There's an entire lore basically behind Andrade's Mask that you can look up online. And yes, I'll agree with Anthony that they should have explained it better on TV, as this match maybe doesn't feel as important as it should do, despite the fact that, both of these competitors are really, really good. But I think regardless of if you care about the mask, it's going to be a fun match. But now let's get on to what we're going to talk about from AEW Collision later on tonight. And that is the AEW Tag Team Championships will be on the line, as FTR will be defending against Adam Cole and MJF. And of course, Adam Cole and MJF won the Tag Team Blind Eliminator Tournament, or as I like to call it, the Tag Team Tournament with a million names. But yes, they built up this match for a few weeks now, and I'm looking forward to it. But the real question is, can Adam Cole and MJF whip out the double clothesline and win the titles tonight, or will there be a turn? Coby Galenzoski, what is your thoughts?
The end of the day, I mean, this was brought up pretty much right before we went on air, as we're talking before the show. To me, there's a lot of missed opportunities because you want to have continuity between everything you do. So the fact that FTR isn't going more into the heel position, because we know MJF and Adam Cole are going to be the makeshift faces for this match. They're not going to cheer FTR, and they're going to cheer them, but they're not going to cheer them over the Blind Eliminator tag team. The fact that FTR aren't cutting a promo talking about the fact that they just did 2 matches that almost add up to an hour and a half, and they wrestled almost another makeshift tag team, but they're building them up as different because they have teamed in the past in New Japan, Juice and Jay. At the end of the day, FTR should be going, you aren't a tag team. The fact that they could disrespect MJF and Adam Cole, and that strengthens MJF and Adam Cole, because, wait, did they just disrespect us? Did they just say 2 of the best wrestlers on this brand can't go win tag team gold? Blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of stuff you can do to build this up, and I feel like they didn't. At the end of the day, I would have preferred this match not being a world tag match. If you changed it or did something to go, hey, well, maybe we don't deserve a tag match, or make it so that it's not a 60-minute match, because all their title matches have those 60-minute time limits. I would have said, do something to figure out how to get this one to 30 minutes and have it go the time limit, because then you can build a rematch. Then you can build it more. You can make this compelling TV. Because at the end of the day, yes, this is a rivalry where we know where it's going, where there's going to be another match between MJF and Adam Cole, but they are just so good together. Where we talk about LA Knight selling merch, their merch is flying off the shelves. At the end of the day, there's a lot of uncapped potential if you just keep the original plan and not let this continue. Like it would be really good TV if they could continue, if it could go. At the end of the day, I think it's a missed opportunity. Is it going to be a fun match? Yes, it will.
Yeah, I do agree with you there, Coby. I mean, it had to be a title match, in fairness. There was an entire tournament to get to it. But yeah, FTR have missed opportunities to make this feel more important and to really establish the fact that they're not a tag team. Very quickly, Saul's in the comments, and he's suggesting maybe Cole and MJF versus Roddy and Kyle in the future. Perhaps Roddy will cost MJF and Cole the titles tonight. I'd be okay with that. But Ignacio, what do you think about this match, and do you think that MJF and Adam Cole could walk out with AEW's tag team gold tonight?
Kind of an avenue for them to get to. I don't know when the match would be taking place, if it's all out or all in, or all over the place, or all up and down, or whatever they want to call their pay-per-views now. I think it's just an avenue to get there, and it's an interesting match. I'm into it. I like it, and I'm looking forward to it. I don't like the stuff they've been doing with MJF and Adam Cole. I think it's silly and a bunch of ridiculousness and stupid right out, and just beneath MJF. And the only reason why I think MJF is agreeing to do all this is Tony Khan cut him a big fat check for the next few years. And Ben, I think you disagree with that, but I think it's already happened, and I think it's just beneath him, and he should be doing something better, and not something better. And what I mean by something better, not with Adam Cole, because I think Adam Cole it isn't the Adam Cole that he was in NXT, and I think that's been prevalent ever since he stepped in AEW. But I'm looking forward to the match itself and the intrigue around it, as far as FTR and what they can do in the ring and what MJF can do in the ring, and pardon me, and what's going to come out of it for Adam Cole and MJF, and where they're going to go from there. Because I think if they do go with Adam Cole and MJF as the main event for the London show, I think that's my opinion. I think it's going to be a big disappointment. I think it should be Punk and MJF for the London show because of the amount of tickets they sold and everything they vested in it behind it, But who knows? I don't think for a second that MJF and Adam Cole are gonna win. I think it's gonna be a good match. I'll give it 30 minutes or so. I think that's how long around there that it's probably gonna last. They want to put on a good showing. But yeah, I think that's it. I'm looking forward to the match and what comes out of it. And I'm looking forward to see also, I think Coby kind of brought up a good point or something, is what's going to be next for FTR, because they've beaten everybody else. So
yeah,
what's next for them? And then I'm not happy because on Rampage, Big Bill and Brian Cage won the Battle Royal or whatever, and I'm not too hot about seeing them against FTR because I don't think they booked Brian Cage very well, and Big Bill's got a stupid name. So it's just like, so I don't know. So it's just going to be interesting.
I want to hear what David has to say about all of this, because I saw you shaking your head through Ignacio's entire speech there. David, what do you think?
We went 38 minutes agreeing with each other, and in the last 7, it all falls apart. No, you can really see how much MJF really hates this storyline, can't you? You can really see it through his eyes, through how much fun he's having, through how clearly into this on social media he is. Yeah, he's only doing this for the money, you can tell. He'll get back to his real stuff eventually, Ignacio, don't worry. I think overall, I think this match will be a lot of fun. I think actually Drizzy has a comment from Drizzy about Roderick Strong has actually triggered something in my brain that I will mention very quickly before we finish. I think that Roderick Strong should cost them the win, but I think specifically he should cost MJF, because if he costs MJF the win, then MJF will get more paranoid about Adam Cole. Adam Cole will get more paranoid with Roderick Strong. And everybody will start to turn on each other. And then I would keep this tag team going. But what I think you would do is over the next few weeks, you keep the merch selling, you keep the matches going, but they try and recover as a tag team leading up to whenever this rematch is going to be, because they said they'll have a rematch, Cole and MJF. But it's not quite the same as it was. The chemistry's not quite there. Things are starting to go wrong, and you just chip away and chip away and chip away. And the storyline eventually becomes who's going to turn on who. And maybe that happens at All In whatever. Maybe they do MJF Cole 2 All In with that thing of who's going to turn on who. Is it going to be a friendly match? Is it not? Do it that way? I don't know. But I think this is going to be a really fun match. I think that overall, I think FTR do take it. I don't particularly want to see MJF and Adam Cole as tag team champions. There's nothing against the team. I've loved the team to pieces. I laughed till my sides hurt in the match against Guevara and Garcia. But I think that there's more mileage to give FTR that, to keep the belts on them and do something properly with them. And MJF and Adam Cole, I think, can keep going without the tag team titles. And actually, the tag team titles might make the lack of tag team titles, might make their story a little bit more interesting.
Fair enough on that one. I mean, I think you might have hit it head on. I really do, David. I think you might have just called this storyline. Of course, Soul, suggested that the Roddy thing. But you then saying that, him costing actually MJF, and then the tensions rising between the two, heading towards All In.
Sorry, Sol.
You shouted out Drizzy, not Sol. But
shout out Drizzy for everything, but sorry, Sol, I missed you on that one.
But guys, it's going to be a stacked day of wrestling. Yesterday was stacked, and then tomorrow we have NXT. Every single day this weekend, there's wrestling, more wrestling, and more wrestling after that. It's brilliant. It's also hectic. We've got UFC tonight. Clark isn't here to give his UFC picks tonight, so just flip a coin and then choose your winner from there. We can't give advice today. But guys, thank you so much for watching. If you're over on YouTube, thumbs up and subscribe. If you're over on Spotify, a cheeky 5-star is awesome. And if you're on Twitch, well, thank you so much for joining us. Please subscribe on there. And then if you're on Twitter, a retweet would be lovely. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll be back here tomorrow at the same time, 8 p.m. UK, 3 p.m. Eastern, and 12 p.m. Pacific. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you, Coby. Thank you, David. And thank you, Ignacio.